Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. We welcome back Mike Holt from Common Law Australia, pumping out all that great content on across his socials. But today we're going to be diving into one of his new ventures, Tax Be Gone, helping get rid of a business, corporate debts, and that type of thing. I'm going to talk about how this all works. So I'm sure this is going to be pretty popular, Mike, and people are going to want to know more about it. But how did this all come about?
Early last year, I did an interview with a guy called Kevin J. Johnston, and he has been working for the last 3 years to protect people from the CRA, which is the Canadian Revenue Authority, and he's saved over 300 companies so far from paying any tax whatsoever. And the way we do it, and then because he knew me, he came to me and he said, "Would you like to start it up in Australia?" So I'll talk about how we do it in a moment. So I set up this website. Can I share the screen?
I've got it on screen for people at home, if
Oh,
you
okay.
like. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And so now we're in business, and I've already signed up one client, and we've got a few more in the pipeline. So things are happening very rapidly. But the way we do it is we basically, if you've got a company debt with the ATO of over $100,000, we will do a share transfer and purchase your company from you, which takes the debt and all everything. It just takes the whole company. And to do that, you pay us a set fee. And then we will also provide you with a nice clean company that the ATO won't ever bother you again. That's the basic idea.
And is this because they don't? And I'm assuming this has worked in Canada too. With I think you said 300 people he's worked with. Is this because of they don't have jurisdiction once you take it to a foreign entity? And how does that all work with your understanding of the law?
Well, most people are not aware of this, I think, but the ATO has absolutely no judicial authority. So therefore, taxation is voluntary. And if you've ever done a tax return, right at the end of the tax return, there's a little box, tick box, that says, "Will you be filing again next year?" And everybody leaves it unticked, or yes, or they tick no, or whatever it is, I forget now. But I tick that box and I've never heard from them again. And so this is another thing that we do. But the work we do is all based on the law. And Kevin J. Johnston, um, he's not only a tax expert, he's a lawyer and an accountant. So he really knows his stuff. And we've now built up a really good team. And so we're helping Australian businesses get out of tax problems. Now, some of the people that come to me are saying, "Look, I've got a company, but the ATO has put this debt on me personally, either as a director or as a private person." And we've been doing some research into this, and it's not perfected yet, but I think we can probably get people out of that kind of debt as well. It's not that simple. But if you've got a tax debt to your company, simple. We just take the company, and you still continue operating.
And is this, as you say, I've heard different people talk about that. Tax is up to you to tick that box, and you hear different things. So is this more currently within the current framework, or is it more what his point is arguing that it's these new laws that are overwritten over common law, and does this get into that realm of maritime law and or anything like that, or this is just
No,
okay, cool,
no, their law is commerce law, maritime law,
yeah,
right? And that's what we fight with, because the laws in Canada, England, Australia, New Zealand, they're all the same. There's very, very little difference between them. And we've compared some of the laws. And although the sections may not be comparable, the wording is exactly the same. So, for example, in, let's say, section 48 in the Australian Bills of Exchange Act, I think it's section 36 or something in the UK Bills of Exchange Act. So the Bills of Exchange Act is one way that we settle smaller debts and all debts from GovCorp. So, for instance, fines, um, rates, loans, mortgages, all of those can be settled with a bill of exchange. And if it's a big debt, then we do the share transfer.
fantastic.
Mm.
Well, Mark, I'll link to all that down below. But while I've got you, what else has been happening? Any development in the? I know you're trying to build out that blockchain voting app to get the people more of a voice and have their say. Any news on
Mm.
that front?
Well, I flew south last weekend to a meeting of all the trustees that have been appointed by the administrators of the trusts that gave banks in Australia 60 years ago. They gave them millions and billions of dollars to develop the nation. Did they develop the nation? No, they stole the money. So our first step was to file a statement of claim with each bank, and our team did that. We bearded the dragon, so to speak, in their meetings. Their shareholders meetings, and so my team marched in there, Peter and Donna, and Peter and Donna, right? Yeah. And they marched in there and they filed they served the documents on the bank managers or the CEOs. And now we are filing an affidavit of demand. So now we're telling them, look, the administrators of the trust have appointed us as the trustees, and now we're here to collect the money. Now that money will go into a fighting fund, well, not a fighting fund, but into escrow, and that will also be part of the voting app. So, yeah, I can't talk too much more at this stage about it. I can't give you many more details, but let's just put it this way, Australia. Help is on the way and it's very close.
That's awesome to hear, mate. Sorry, I've got a mute. I've got a blowfly that's just flown into the studio. It's nice and hot here today. So, what else has been happening, Mike? Anything of interest that you've been seeing with changes in politics or just everything that's happening around the world? Or yeah.
Well, I'm getting a lot of messages from people now with all sorts of problems. Can you help me? Can you help me? Australia is in deep doo-doo. We're in big trouble because of the political situation. Nothing else. It's the politicians who have created these problems, and we have to get rid of the politicians. Now, I know a lot of people are going around saying, oh, yeah, let's vote for Pauline. She's going up in the polls. Why would you vote for a politician? Because as soon as you vote for a politician, you give your power of attorney to them and you lose all power. You have no say. And that's what the situation is today and has been for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. That was one of my one of the predictions I made in my 2026 predictions video is the rise of Pauline Hanson, and this is going to be all manufactured, and it's going to be the similar playbook to Trump, where it's kind of promised the world, and once they get in, don't really change anything. And again, if people haven't figured out by now that change isn't coming from the politicians, the change has to come from us, the people, and they're all controlled. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one. But you can see it playing out now. So they're going to, the song with Holly Valance just yesterday, and she's going to do the rounds on some of the big podcasts, and the media is going to turn on even more, which is going to make the people think that she's on their side. And, yeah, it's going to be crazy watching all this play out, but it's all scripted.
Look, when people confront me and say, oh, I love Pauline, I ask them one simple question. She's been in that, well, two actually. She's been in that parliament for how many years now? And what has she ever actually achieved? Now, people will make excuses and say, oh, but she doesn't have the power. No, of course she doesn't, because the whole system is corrupt. And the second thing I ask is, why do you believe her? And they can't answer that. They just say, oh, but she's been against this whole thing. No, she hasn't. She's been elected into that parliament, and she is a shill. And she's what's that, when you want the sheep to go somewhere and you've got the donkey or whatever, the goat in front, that's what she is. And this little goat is leading all the sheep down the path to destruction. And remember, our Constitution in sections 7 and 24 states very clearly, only we the people have the right and the authority to select our representatives. And that's the words they use in the Constitution, select representatives. And so it doesn't mention anything about political parties. It certainly says nothing about a prime minister. It's all fake. And so why would you put your trust in any politician?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one, Mike. You don't need to convince me, but I really hope people at home do wake up to this, or maybe it's going to take all this to play out for them to see that it doesn't matter who gets in. If
Right.
it's the two major parties or the others, they're all ultimately controlled.
Yeah, they all are. And what I'd like you to do now, if you wouldn't mind, mate, is share the screen on my futureplan.earth website, because the whole government structure right now is teetering on the brink of their own destruction. They have harmed the people way too much. And as a result, so many people now are waking up and coming to people like you and me and saying, this is terrible. What can we do about it? Well, it appears that our team is probably the only team in Australia that's actually doing anything about it. You'll notice on my post, I don't sit on there and tell everybody what the problems are. I offer solutions. And that's what we need now. We need solutions. So people come to me and say, oh, this guy got on there and said that. Yeah, but what's he doing about it? You know?
Yeah.
So,
As always, I will link to all your socials and all your websites down below, Mike. But that was a bit short, sharp episode, but I think we got the point across, and I'll be looking forward to hearing how it all goes. And if it works, I'm sure it's going to be a pretty popular service.
yeah, well, I just wanted to say something about futureplan.earth. Once the system collapses, we need something ready to replace it with. And that's what futureplan.earth proposes. Now, everything in that website is up for discussion and a vote. So we won't implement anything without the permission of the people. Now, once the government collapses, we're going to form an interim government. And during that interim period, we will get everything in place. We'll have the voting app, we'll have all the other things ready, and we'll set up everything, and we will follow. If the people approve of that futureplan.earth plan, we will follow that. And I can guarantee you within 12 months, Australia will be back on the road to prosperity and happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. If we stop selling all our resources out to these big globalists and corporations, and we should be the wealthiest, healthiest, happiest country on earth. So
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to hopefully making that future possible. And I know you're doing great work and other people. So let's stick at it. And, mate, we'll catch up again in future. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.